Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Around 80,000 people are expected to travel in and out of San Diego Airport today as people head home for Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. But with the construction for the new Terminal 1 still ongoing, visitors to the airport are being encouraged to plan ahead. KPBS reporter Claire Strong went to see how things were running on one of the busiest travel days of the year.
What do you like the most about Thanksgiving?
Eating a turkey.
Cece and her family are among the thousands of passengers heading out of San Diego Airport today to spend Thanksgiving with family. Around 80,000 people are expected to pass through the airport today, which is almost back to pre-pandemic numbers. Despite the huge influx of travelers, these passengers say it's been smooth sailing so far.
It seems like everybody knows what they're doing, so. But if you need help, just ask one of the workers or, anybody, they'll help you.
No, we haven't had any lines so far, but, got to get through security.
And what's your experience of San Diego Airport been today?
Not bad. It's clean. Seems like things are moving.
Construction work on the new Terminal 1 building means less parking this Thanksgiving. So the advice to airport visitors is plan well ahead.
We closed the Terminal 1 parking lot over the summer, and so that means that the only available parking we have is the Terminal 2 parking plaza. We do have valet options available at Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. But, really just understand that if you're coming to the airport and really want to park on site, you need reservations in advance.
Despite the large number of people here today, the passengers I've spoken with say things seem to be running pretty smoothly. And staff will no doubt be hoping for more of the same on Sunday, which is expected to be the busiest travel day of the holiday season. Claire Strong, KPBS News.
And those hoping to ride the train out of San Diego will have to mix in a bus ride. Thomas Fudge updates us on the shutdown between North County and San Clemente and when service might be restored.
In late September, transportation officials said San Diegans should expect passenger train service on Amtrak's coastal line to stop for at least 60 days. Hassani Trot is the executive director of SANDAG, San Diego's planning agency. He says bluff stabilization is ongoing, and his hope and expectation is that rail service will indeed resume next month.
This holiday season is really the time when people enjoy that train ride. And people write me and text me and email me and say, what are you doing? Why I can't take the train to go to Los Angeles?
Southern California's coastal passenger line, called the Surfliner, runs from San Diego to San Luis Obispo, and it's the second busiest rail corridor in the country. An unstable slope above the track in San Clemente posed the threat of a landslide. Officials fear that homes on top of the slope will slide down onto the track. Unstable coastal bluffs are a problem for rail service in Orange County and San Diego County. Icrata said while Orange County has dangerous erosion above the tracks, in San Diego the rail bed itself is unstable, threatening a collapse onto the beach below.
Orange County issue is a bit different. We don't want our trains to be swimming in the ocean. Orange County issue, you don't want the houses to fall into the track.
He said the ultimate solution in San Diego County is to move the tracks inland. The state of California has pledged $300 million for San Diegans to plan for that move. The actual price of moving the tracks will be much higher, and that will rely on federal funding. Congressman Mike Levin, a Democrat representing San Diego and Orange counties, told KPBS Midday Edition this week that federal officials are getting the message.
We had Pete Buttigieg out, Transportation Secretary. We had the president out, and he referred to the rail corridor as well as a priority, and we're just going to follow through as aggressively and persistently as we can to ensure those federal funds come to our region.
Sandagsi Krata said when Buttigieg visited San Diego late last week, they took him on a train ride from Old Town to Del Mar to help focus his attention on the need for coastal rail service. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
The criminal case against the man accused of a mass shooting at an LGBTQ bar in Colorado is moving forward. Anderson Aldrich appeared in court this morning for the first time since last weekend's attack. 5 people were killed and many others injured before police arrested Aldrich. Aldrich sat in a chair, slumped over, and agreed that he understands his rights when questioned by a judge. Outside of the courtroom, the lead prosecutor said this to the victims.
I want them to know that we are going to be the voice for the victims in the courtroom and that we will be fighting alongside them through this entire process.
And Aldrich is being held without bond. His next court date is December 6th. Just days after the Colorado shooting, national attention is turning to Virginia. As Chris Wynn reports, police believe a Walmart manager was the shooter who targeted co-workers during a late-night shooting.
Just ahead of Thanksgiving.
Our hearts are just completely broken this morning yet again.
Another mass shooting in America.
We have had 2 horrific acts of violence in the Commonwealth of Virginia in 2 weeks.
A gunman opening fire in a Chesapeake, Virginia Walmart just before the store closed Tuesday night. An employee detailing the harrowing experience on social media.
Just left out the break room, come in there, started capping people up in there, started shooting, bro. Like, I'm whole, though, y'all. Sadly, though, we lost a few of our associates.
At least 6 people are dead, and at least 4 remain hospitalized Wednesday.
I can say that 2 of them remain in the intensive care unit in critical condition.
The shooter has been identified as 31-year-old Andre Bing, a team lead on the overnight shift at the store. Officials believe he acted alone before taking his own life, and police say there is no further threat to the community.
The investigation's still ongoing, and we'll be processing that scene for days.
In a statement, Walmart said, "We're working closely with law enforcement, and we are focused on supporting our associates." In their grief, calls for solutions from the Chesapeake community.
For all the people who are saying that their hearts and prayers go out to these people, I don't want to hear any more about that until they get serious about gun violence prevention.
Chris Wynn, KPBS News.
Flu season has arrived in a hurry, with San Diego County health officials reporting the highest number of cases in November in 10 years. And these are some of the graphs showing that the trend. So far, more than 6,000 flu cases are reported in November. And in recent years, the county says flu cases have peaked in December and January. Among this year's cases, 5 deaths are believed to be flu-related. Thousands of San Diegans will be spending the Thanksgiving holiday at local hospitals. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman takes a look at a special meal meant to remind patients and staff of home.
She is prepping the turkeys for our patient meal tomorrow.
Inside the kitchen at Scripps Memorial Hospital, turkeys are getting ready to roast. Chef Tim Watson and his team are cooking up a classic Thanksgiving recipe for all of the hospital's patients and staff.
Rosemary, thyme, parsley, garlic, and a little bit of what they call chicken consomme, or like a chicken broth, to flavor the turkeys a little bit more as they roast to get all those pan drippings in there.
There's a full complement of sides, and of course, desserts are also on the menu.
So it's a pumpkin mousse. We made 300 of these this morning, and it has the traditional pumpkin spice in there with a little dollop of whipped cream on it.
Here in the hospital, you can see behind me, final preparations are underway for this Thanksgiving feast. Staff members tell me the whole goal of this is to make people have a little sense of the holiday.
We do this because we're trying to keep it traditional for our patients. You know, as you know, it can be difficult during the holidays to have to spend time in the hospital. So of course we want to, we want to give them that home-style cooked meal when they can't be at home with their families.
Just at Scripps Memorial Hospital, Watson is expecting to serve around 1,700 meals on Thanksgiving. That includes about 700 patients and 1,000 hospital staffers.
A couple different mini pies for the employees to choose from. One of them is the traditional pumpkin pie, and the other is an apple pie. Believe it or not, the apple's actually more popular than the pumpkin with our staff.
Nearly 2,000 meals could take a while to serve.
Crossing hallway.
But the kitchen has some help.
We have our robot tugs that they help alleviate a lot of walking for our staff.
These autonomous robots are loaded up with food and then head off to hungry patients.
It frees up some staff to be able to focus on the room service aspect and not have to walk 5-6 miles a day.
The Scripps Kitchen tries to accommodate patients' dietary needs, and turkeys don't have to be ordered on Thanksgiving. The hospital's full regular menu will also be in place. Watson says using fresh ingredients is more expensive and it takes longer, but he wouldn't have it any other way.
I know for me and for some of the staff personally, it means a lot to be able to feed patients, you know, all things considered, when they can't be at home with their families. It means a lot to send them a nice hot cooked meal, hopefully put a little smile on their face.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A local Navy veteran photographer is making it his duty to take the portraits of World War II veterans. KPBS reporter Melissa May and video journalist Mike Damron give us a look at his collection.
Inside Nelson Photo and Video in Point Loma, you'll find the portraits of local World War II veterans.
We still call them the greatest generation, absolutely, and they are.
For retired Navy chief photographer Mickey Strand, taking these photos is a calling, just like the one answered by the men and women in his Veterans Portrait Series.
Well, they're going to see 25 people who answered the call when our country needed them the most. When our country called upon them to sign a check, including a bottom line that might include their life, these are 25 heroes who signed that check and went off to war and kept our country from falling.
But Strand does so much more than just preserve the veterans' image. He makes sure their stories live on too.
They served, they did their job, they came back, and then they rebuilt the country. They didn't talk about their service. They just, you know, hiked up their boots and they ran with it.
Like Calvin Shiner.
Calvin actually wrote me a bunch of his actual words at what being a service member meant to be in a quartermaster unit in the Army following Patton. And it's incredible that he is the most kind soul that he is, with honestly all the abuse that a black service member took back in those days.
This current collection serves as a memorial for 3 of its World War II veterans and shows the urgency of preserving their stories.
So we're losing them at 100 a day. Oh, maybe more. And their stories are going to be gone forever if we don't collect them.
Strand wants to take the portrait series on the road and eventually put all the portraits on display together. He says he'd love to have the collection in the National Archives someday.
I'd love my work to live well beyond me also, so that their stories and my story carry on.
This collection will be on display at Nelson Photo and Video through the end of November. Melissa May, KPBS News.
It was an image that went around the world. Germany's soccer team staged a protest against FIFA's decision to sanction them for wearing One Love armbands by putting their hands over their mouths. The armband signifies diversity and inclusion and features a numerical 1 with a striped heart in different colors to represent different gender and sexual identities. Qatar has been criticized over human rights abuses leading up to World Cup. The Dutch company that sells the armbands has sold 10,000 of them in approximately 2 weeks and now has supposedly sold out of inventory. The United States and Mexico are fierce soccer rivals, but in a cross-border region like San Diego, fans cheer for both teams. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis says the World Cup brings a special atmosphere.
The World Cup is the biggest sporting event on the planet, bigger than the World Series, the Super Bowl, and even the Olympics. Every 4 years, the best soccer teams in the world compete to see who lifts the cup. And there's something extra special about the tournament when you live in a border region like ours. Team USA didn't qualify for the last World Cup 4 years ago. That's one reason why Steve Garcia thinks this World Cup is going to be extra special. The co-owner of Three Punk Ale's Brew Pub in Chula Vista is expecting some big watch parties, bigger than the 2018 World Cup when Mexico fans packed the brewery to cheer their team.
Unfortunately, last World Cup, there was no U.S. So it was like we don't know what the
we don't know exactly how that's going to go this year. But last World Cup was awesome. It was, El Tri. Everybody came out, bro. 8 in the morning games, 6 in the morning games. It didn't matter. We had food trucks posted up, doing breakfast burritos.
U.S. and Mexico fans are supposed to hate each other. But that's really hard to do in the border when we have so much in common. Fans from San Diego trek to Tijuana to cheer on the Cholos. And kids from Mexico will play on some of San Diego's elite youth soccer teams.
Football's football, bro. I mean, you know more than anybody else. Here in Southern California, being a border town, being from Chula Vista, football is football, soccer is soccer. The love and the passion for the game, for the match is second to none.
Garcia still remembers die-hard USA fans wearing the green Mexican jerseys in 2018. And he's got video evidence.
We had a lot of American fans wearing El Tri gear. Like, I got video to prove it. So now if they're trying to argue when this year when they're wearing, oh, I'm not. I said, my friend, I have video of you cheering and singing the Mexican national anthem.
Daniel Chamberlain is the president of the San Diego chapter of the American Outlaws, a Team USA supporters group. He's traveled all over the U.S. and Mexico to watch the two rivals go at it. He says that it's always an interesting experience.
It's a heated rivalry, especially on the field. But it's interesting when you're in the stands. If I've seen it when Mexico wins, U.S. fans taking their jersey off, wearing Mexico jerseys, and I've seen it the other way. I don't like it. I think you need to pick a side. But I just think it drives both teams, which I've always enjoyed that part.
Chamberlain credits Mexican fan culture for spreading the love of soccer in the U.S. It wasn't always easy to follow the sport if you lived north of the border. When he grew up in the 1980s, most American channels wouldn't broadcast any soccer games.
So to watch games, the only way you could watch it was in Spanish with the Mexican League. And sometimes, for us older people, we had to use those rabbit ears that you put on your TV and guide it around so you get those. I think that's what made San Diego so unique.
Chamberlain says that he probably watched more soccer games in Spanish than in English until he was in his 20s. Back at Three Punk Ales, multicultural fans say cheering for multiple teams is a reflection of their identity.
So I'm black and I'm Mexican, so I'm both. So I love both nations, and it's dope because you have two chances to win the World Cup.
Juan wore a USA jersey to the game between the U.S. and Wales on Monday. He planned to come back on Tuesday wearing a green Mexico jersey.
For the most part, Chula Vista or maybe South San Diego, you have a lot of people that have grown up in the United States but have deep roots in Mexico, and we root for both teams.
Garcia is already planning for 2026. That's when Mexico, the U.S., and Canada will combine to host the World Cup.
Am I excited for this? Yes. I'm more excited for 2026. I see as soon as we get those North American countries involved, Canada, U.S., and Mexico, that's going to be bananas.
Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Many of those who applied for student loan relief are already getting notices that they've been approved, but getting that debt discharged might take a while. Amy Kiley updates us on the legal case before the Supreme Court that will determine what comes next.
It's deadline day at the U.S. Supreme Court. The Justice Department is asking it to allow President Joe Biden's student loan relief plan to take effect amid legal challenges. The court has given plaintiffs until noon today to respond.
I'm never going to apologize for helping working class and middle class families recover from the economic crisis created by the pandemic.
At issue is Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 for federal borrowers under an income cap. A federal judge struck it down, and an appeals court is blocking it while a separate case plays out. The Education Department says it's approved about 60 million applications, but can't discharge that debt. Now the government has stopped taking applications. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is extending the pause on federal student loan payments.
It isn't fair to ask tens of millions of borrowers eligible for relief to resume their student debt payments while the courts consider the lawsuit.
The moratorium will last until the Supreme Court decides the case or until June 30th, whichever comes first. Payments are set to resume 60 days later.
They're planning to extend student loan socialism anyway by extending the endless moratorium on payments.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Everything is costing more these days, and that includes your turkey dinner. Farmers who are helping to bring food to the table are facing multiple market mechanics. Karen Kafa takes us to the farm to see how it all adds up.
Behind every green and bean from the Carranza family farm is a lengthy to-do list.
Between the seed and the table, there's a lot that goes on.
Jennifer Carranza pitches in all over these 10 acres in Camarillo, California, including running the numbers. So she knows how much the cost of growing vegetables and flowers for 5 farmers markets has gone up recently. From seed and water supply to gas to transport goods for sale and labor.
It's a lot of meticulous work, a lot of repetitive movement of harvesting these, whether it's a bean, if it's a radish, a carrot.
An annual survey by the American Farm Bureau finds the cost of a traditional Thanksgiving dinner will be 20% higher this year than last. Their survey of 11 ingredients to make a meal for a party of 10 saw the overall cost increase to $64.05 from $53.31 in 2021. Farmers facing multiple economic pressures.
You go to the grocery store to feed your family, your price has gone up. My family is 20,000 turkeys. So exponentially, my grocery bill has gone up.
At the Shonuff Turkey Farm in Fulton, Maryland, owner Chris Borer says the cost of feeding 20,000 birds at his family operation and the labor for maintaining them through a busy summer into fall are his biggest budget inputs.
People expect to make more to do the same jobs because their groceries are costing more. So the cycle is just continuous. Last year, someone talked to me and said, this will be the most expensive Thanksgiving ever. That was last year until we got to this year.
Shonuff raises the same numbers of turkeys each year, but different sizes, anticipating what customers will demand.
The past couple years with the pandemic, people were having smaller gatherings, so we sold a lot of 10 to 14 pound turkeys. We've seen a lot of the people now raising to like a 14 to 18 pound turkey because I believe they're going to have more people at their gatherings.
And larger birds need more feed. Still, Borer says it's all worth it when families come back every Thanksgiving, and Carranza says it's an honor to set the table for so many feasts.
It makes us happy to know that it'll be feeding someone and it'll make someone happy.
In Fulton, Maryland, I'm Karen Kefa.
Hopefully your Thanksgiving Eve hasn't been too stressful. Weather-wise, unfortunately, we are watching those Santa Ana winds kick back in. So your Thanksgiving going to be a windy one. The winds, though, begin to decrease as we head into Friday. And then peeking ahead to next week, we could be talking about a chance of showers, otherwise some cooler, breezier weather. Looking at our weather alerts here, you see that light purple. That is that wind advisory, 10 o'clock tonight through 10 o'clock a.m. on Friday. So we are going to be dealing with these winds throughout Thanksgiving Day. Here's a snapshot of what we are talking about. Some of those strongest winds do come on Thanksgiving. That could lead to downed trees and power lines, which is not what we want to deal with right on Thanksgiving Day, especially if you just put the turkey in the oven. Looking at the high fire risk, also a concern, plus those dangerous crosswinds if people are going to be traveling out and about. Heads up for winds gusting 40 to 60 miles per hour. That AccuWeather local storm max of 85. If we do see one of those readings, it's going to be in the mountains as we head into tomorrow. Looking at tonight's forecast, as temperatures will be dropping back to the 30s and 40s. Peeking ahead to your Thanksgiving Day, it's going to be dry, but again, the wind picking up as we head throughout our Turkey Day. Looking at temperatures for tomorrow in our sunny sky, 75 Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna 60. We'll look at about 78 with sunshine for San Diego, 81 Oceanside, Chula Vista, upper 70s with the sunshine. Then Friday, if you're going to be out and about shopping on Black Friday, temperatures will be mild, still will be breezy, but then eventually we'll start to see those winds calm a bit through the weekend. Your 5-day outlook along the coast, 80s for tomorrow, upper 70s on Friday, and then cooler temperatures on the way for the weekend. Look at Monday, only 61. Your 5-day forecast for the inland valleys keeps 80s for Thursday and Friday, but we will see temperatures dropping Saturday and Sunday to the upper 60s, low 70s, with a couple showers possible on Monday. The mountains, we will see that cooling trend over the weekend and windy, wet weather on Monday. And then into the deserts, we'll keep that sunshine around and temperatures into the 70s before some more clouds return by Monday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Ariella Scalise.
With a lot of get-togethers happening in the days ahead, you need the right soundtrack to set the mood. Rick Damigella has a wrap of some of the new holiday music to watch for this season.
Seeing
Seeing a performance of Trans-Siberian Orchestra has become a Christmas tradition for many. The group's new tour, The Ghosts of Christmas Eve, The Best of TSO and More, is taking the show to dozens of cities during the holidays.
It was written by Paul O'Neill back in the late 90s, and it became kind of like a fan favorite. Everybody adopted it as part of their holiday tradition. No different than when I was a kid. It was It's a Wonderful Life, A Miracle on 34th Street, or Rudolph. So we're going to go out. We're going to do, I think, 100 shows in 60 cities in 45 days, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Jazz singer Jane Monheit gets in the Christmas spirit on her new release, The Merriest. Monheit's second Yuletide album includes her rendition of Ella Fitzgerald's What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? That's Joss Stone singing Stevie Wonder's What Christmas Means to Me. The song comes from Stone's debut holiday music album, Merry Christmas Love. The 16-song set includes a pair of Joss Stone originals alongside Christmas covers and standards. Already putting up Christmas lights in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damagello.
Oceanside is inviting the community to move your feet before you eat this Thanksgiving at their 17th annual Oceanside Osai Turkey Trot. The beachfront event has activities for everyone. The 5-mile run kicks off at 6:45 a.m., while the 5K and the kids races start by 8 a.m. Kathy Kainane is the founder of the Osai Turkey Trot and the Move Your Feet Before You Eat Foundation.
So our foundation's goal is to help solve the healthcare crisis one step at a time. We feel if we can get people to embrace physical activity, it can have a major impact on our healthcare costs annually. It'll do it.
And she says that her favorite part of the event is the costumes that participants wear. Registration is still open, and a stroller race will also be open for families with little ones. Proceeds will benefit the nonprofit. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. And KPBS will be off tomorrow for the holiday. We'll be back here Friday night at 5 for Evening Edition. We wish you a very happy Thanksgiving.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.